Hello, fellow learners. I would like to welcome you all in a new lecture series about international business environment, a critical subject of semester 5. While we talk about international business, obviously there are n number of options that we need to learn and understand while going, let's say, as an MNC or venturing into the new markets or going into the new countries. Hence, today we are going to talk about internationalization process and managerial implication. While we talk about internationalization, it is highly important to understand for all of us that going global isn't a simple thing, but there are a number of options which are already involved, and hence the lecture series will be carried out in two parts, which simply means that we are going to have a twin lecture series. When in part 1 we are going to cover the basic aspects, and in part 2 we are going to cover the entry strategies and the remaining aspects. So, shall we start? Here is Dr. Saket Bansod from Dr. Ambedkar Institute of Management Studies and Research talking about internationalization process and managerial implications. So, what are the contents? Let us first understand what are the contents that we are going to deal. First and foremost, the important most aspect here would be political system. Unless and until you are quite capable enough or you are able to deal with the overall political system or able to understand and comprehend the political system, it won't be an easier option for moving forward and nullify the effects of political system. It is highly important for all of us to understand that without understanding the political system, it will be a foolish way to jump into a particular pond wherein there is no understanding of the depth of the lake, and it may be a good thing, we can hit it for a sixer or we can get clean bowled in the first ball itself, and hence the political system plays a really important role. Second part would be economic transformation. While talking about economic transformation, it is highly important to understand the economic capability of a particular country. Without talking about the economic capability or economic environment of the country, we cannot move forward with respect to the business aspect, and hence it is very much required in order to understand how the economic transformation can take place. Third point would be to adjusting to cultural transformation. Well, it would be a fool's paradise, and a company ought to ignore the cultural transformation or the cultural differences only on the basis of their previous, or they can make it look like a fool's paradise, and they can ignore at their own haphazard. And hence, in order to understand a cultural transformation, the socio-cultural aspects need to be understood and they need to be highlighted. Fourth would be knowledge and intellectual internalization. Obviously, knowledge is the key to the next global success era. As we can see, earlier it used to be money, then it used to be crude oil, then it used to be gold always, but now, in order to rule the roost, you need to have a knowledge, you need to have a technology, you need to have intellectual property rights, and hence the idea is the next big thing. Better the idea, higher will be the chances of success, and hence how to go ahead with the intellectual organization and internationalization of ideas is the new pro bono while we talk about the different aspects. Next in line would be tackling the technological developments. As we are quite aware, not all the businesses can carry forward in the same technological manner that we ought to in the earlier phase. And hence, in order to tackle the technological developments, we need to be pro bono, or we need to be quite prepared in order to tackle all the technological developments and lacunas, so that we can go ahead and make a move into the market. Next one would be choice of markets to enter. It isn't simple like flipping a coin, and hence we need to tackle in the most or the best possible manner when the choice of markets to enter will play a huge role to move forward and tackle the behavior which was not there earlier, and hence choice of markets to enter will play a major role while understanding and preparing for moving forward. Next would be motivation for entry into foreign market. As human being is quite a selfish individual, it is not possible that we can move forward or move into a territory without a motive, and hence we need to understand the motive. It can be expanding your businesses, it can be capturing the foreign market, it can be improving your brand, maybe in number of things. So what is the basic motivation of entering into a foreign market plays an important role by going global. Next would be determining code of conduct in international market. Obviously, there are going to be a number of different laws and legislations and legalities involved while doing business. It is highly important for a business person or an organization to understand how the things are going to plan out and how they are going to span out. And hence, understanding the code of conduct in international market plays an important role while entering into a market. Next would be dealing the ethical issues in international business. There are n number of options that we need to understand while dealing with ethical issues. While there are n number of ways to enter into the market, in order to understand the ethical issues, we need to understand how the ethnicity or the ethical nature of a particular business is, wherein the acceptance of the business or the product will change as per the ethnicity or acceptability of the particular field. So, shall we move forward? I hope so. Okay. So first and foremost, the point is political system. Whenever we talk about political system, there are obviously going to be different of opinions. There are going to be different type of political systems that are being followed in different countries, and hence some of the points that are to be included are: international includes interference of different state authorities in the affair of the business. Obviously, the government has its own way of handling the workers. The government will have an opinion on dealing the different types of businesses, and hence I feel the internationalizations obviously they will have to interfere in the business because the business is going to get employment to their people, and obviously they have a strict policy in order to how the businesses are being run. Second is business is exposed to difference of governments and rules and regulations and legislations. Obviously, whenever we go global, the governance policies, the government's regulations and rules, the political system, the legal system is going to be very much different, and that's why the business is going to be just exposed to different rules and regulations. Hence, it is highly recommended that the political system will quite differ in the way they approach or work in a particular manner, and hence it is highly probable and improbable that that we have a first-hand information before entering into any market on how the government approaches a particular business or how they treat the foreign expatriates or the businesses which are being run. Business managers have to understand that the political risk between the territories. Let us first understand that you need to understand that the country of origin will have a huge impact on how the business is being run in a particular country. Depending upon the strategy, depending upon the type of relation that your host country will share with your home country, is going to be making a huge difference, and hence I really feel that the political risk between the international territories is quite huge, and that's why the manager have to be very proficient. They have to be on their toes always in order to avoid any conflict of interest or to avoid any problems as sabotage. Economic transformation. First and foremost, the economic transformation, obviously, internationalization itself is a economic globalization. Whenever we go international, it is obviously expanding our economic limits. So, unless until you have deep pockets, you won't be able to go international. So, it is a no-brainer that a local business or a small town business, small time business cannot go international. You need to have the international standards. You need to understand the international economics before jumping into the fray, and hence, by unless until you are able to invest a stack of money, you won't be able to go global. So that's a no-brainer. Under ever-changing economic structure, economic dimension, the business manager has to tackle all kinds of changes. There are n number of economic structures and changes. You may have different taxation system. You may have to deal with different economic recessions, different economic changes, the new economic policies, the economic reforms, and the manager has to be always on the toe in order to deal with the economic structural changes, so that the business can prosper in the best possible manner. Development of IT, that is information technology, has already eased quite a bit of things. So near time offshore globalization is being worked upon. You may have a back office working in some distant country, though you're operating in some other country, and that still can be considered an economic transformation for a very simple reason: it transforms your economic capability and the profitability of the business in the entirely structured and new prospered manner. And obviously, the economic transformation needs to deal with the mode of entry. Different mode of entries like import export, franchising, or turnkey projects, or entering into a merger will require different amounts of economical backing, and hence the company needs to have a thorough analysis or self introspection before entering into any market. Adjusting to a cultural transformation. I feel that while we're adjusting, we need to understand that there has to be a uniqueness in organizational culture, which can be very much flexible. Obviously, when you're working in a host country, it has to be flexible. But while going global, you need to have your own unique culture so that the employees who are being transferred from one place to another can still feel at home or still feel that they are not being deprived of any particular sufficiency or working etiquettes. So working etiquettes or organizational culture can remain same, but still with a lot of flexibility by giving the local impetus and local institute its local flavor. All heterogeneous culture dissolve in a prevailing culture that cover the whole world. Obviously, when you are talking about MNC, we can move forward and have a heterogeneous culture. It needs to be understood that while prevailing culture, in order to cover the entire world, you need to have a multi-dimensional culture. You cannot have a stringent, one-dimensional or a society or a culture. In order to go global, you should have a capacity to submerge different cultures and form a new organizational culture which is very much welcoming to the people who are working in it. The people should feel safe and they should feel welcome while working in it. That would be the most appropriate way to move forward for any business. Increase in movement and flow of culture can lead to complexity. Uh, flow of culture can lead to complexity if a particular host country is too much stringent on implementing a structural change in passing of a culture. The organization may feel or may face a lot of backlash if the culture is not flexible, if the organization is not very stable or not flexible. Then there is a high probability that the organizational backlash, organizational rigidity may lead to a huge problem. Next point would be, in order to business manager needs to employ a special team to study the diversity of host country's culture. You need to have linguistic transformation. You need to understand the working culture. You need to adapt to your timings. You need to understand the bureaucracy, and hence it is always advisable. And in order to understand the cultural transformation or culture in a much better manner, there has to be a complicated, combined team which need to satisfy the complicated task of managing the host and the parent country's culture, and hence the team should be in the best of both the countries' interests. And I think it should be a joint mergerial team which is able to deal with all the problems and is able to satisfy the requirements. Knowledge and intellectual interaction. Obviously, whenever we talk about knowledge or intellectual interaction, it is highly improbable that without the idea you will be able to sustain in the global world. Idea is a new way to rule the world, and hence knowledge will rule. And in order to rule the world, the knowledge has to be prevalent. It has to be strong-minded. It has to be up to date in order to rule in the best of the possible worlds. A third world knowledge won't be sufficient to tackle the problems of a first world country, or a first world country's solution would be directly applicable to a third world nations. And hence we need to understand that in order to go pro bono or need to be MNC, we'll have to be quite flexible in implementation of idea. So knowledge and application will have to be tempered, will have to be a bit subdued in order to be implemented in different countries. The company has to be quite ready to adopt the change so that the business and nations should grow in order to by sharing knowledge and sharing technology. Next is global knowledge increases competition and productivity. It is like being globally local. You need to have the best of the possible knowledge, and you should be able to implement it by staying in the cut of the age. So, if you are an international brand, you are able to sell to the most of the countries, being in the stringent of the norms and forwarding it in the best possible manner. So global knowledge will help obviously increase the competition and productivity. It will obviously help you to boost your own brand, which will definitely help you to be a front runner in the most of the cases. And keep searching. That is the most important aspect of having an intellectual intelligence. Innovation is the backbone of any entrepreneur. You cannot, in no way, underestimate the power of innovation. It cannot be subdued that without innovation an entrepreneur will be able to sustain. It cannot be a copy paste concept. Already established brands won't let you survive if a concept is just copy pasted and nothing new is going to be offered. People outrightly reject if there is no innovation or no innovative offering to the people. So I feel that the next point should be dealt with respect to completion of this point. Tackling the technological developments. I really feel the technological developments have gone pro bono, and most of the countries are a lot or at par whenever we talk about the internationalization or technology. The implementation of technology in the, let's say, least developed country is quite far, But I feel the developed countries and the developing countries are very much in line when we talk about the use of the technology. Let's say, for example, US and India are, I feel, by far are almost equal in usage of technology, and the IT international innovation technology and information technology are the one of the most important reason to make them in an equal manner or keep them at the same pedestal. So international creates technological developments. Whenever you need to go global, you need to have a global technology. You cannot have a local technology and dream of being global. If India wants to make a mobile like Apple, you need to have a hardware and a software to make something like Apple. Obviously, the sustenance of the brand will vary, but it is in no case that we should give up our try, and we should always try and move forward to keep our progress alive. Under technological diffusion, firms earn enough through patent and intellectual properties of scientific innovation and invention. Uh, Cross-border patent is still a particular taboo that we are not very much sure of. Many of the countries like US have a stringent patent law, whereas in India, even if you are the most innovative person, uh, a US might not give you the same patent, and hence many a times Indian firms do face a challenge while going into cross-border innovation and invention. Though a sufficient earning can be made through patents and intellectual property, it is still a challenge for us Indians to be in the front runner in order to tackle the technological developments. Adoption of right technology by manager according to situation needs a host country will surely make a development. It is highly improbable that without the adoption of the technology, a host country's manager will be able to sustain. It is of utmost importance that we are able to understand the requirement of technology and what the innovation needs. It cannot be a me too concept. It has to be innovatively suggestions or innovatively adaptability so that the work is being carried out. I feel, fellow learners, that should be it for our first part. See you on the other side of the second part. I will definitely come up with the second part soon. Thank you so much.